yesterday we led the show with the question, how much trouble is Michigan really in? The cheating scandal, the Big Ten, the suspension, the court case. And then it comes out today that Michigan and Jim Harbaugh have dropped their legal battle with the Big Ten. Jim Harbaugh will be suspended for the full 3 games to end the year, so he will now miss not only the Penn State game, but Maryland and Ohio State at the Big House next weekend. It is, in totality, a 6-game suspension being served by Jim Harbaugh, 3 to start the season off of the level 1 violations from the NCAA during the COVID dark period and his dishonesty in that investigation. Harbaugh gave himself a 3-game suspension. Now he has accepted another 3-game suspension for a completely different scandal around sign stealing. This is quite remarkable. And Jake, I just don't think anymore that even the most ardent Michigan fan can defend Jim Harbaugh missing half the season.
There is no defense. And today, essentially admitting your acceptance of this punishment tells me everything I need to know. You were never going to that hearing on Friday. You were never going to try and fight this. All you wanted to do the whole time was be a barking dog about it. You wanted to bark at the wind. You wanted to make as much noise as possible. You wanted to be the biggest pain in the ass for Tony Petitti that he had ever seen or had to deal with. And what did we do? We played a big game of chicken, which is, hey, we're gonna battle, butt heads as hard and as fast as possible, right up until that portion where we got to go into a courtroom and try to defend ourselves from something that has no defense. So to me, I look at this and I say, yeah, the most passionate, the most loyal Michigan supporter, you can go ahead and put your guns down and back off, and you can start saying, yeah, you know what, we did steal signs illegally, we did send people out in advance, and we are accepting the punishment from the Big Ten, and it's time to move on. That should be your positioning statement, not, hey, everybody was doing it and we did nothing wrong and we're a victim and we're getting, special treatment here, because you're not getting special treatment. You're getting the exact treatment that you deserve based on your actions. And now we get to say, yeah, not only did Jim self-impose 3 games this year, he's now accepted another 3 games and he's missing half your season. Again, why are we dying on the hill for a guy who's not winning you national championships and misses half your team's games?
Yeah, I think this is a real body blow to Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. But one of the things I think is so interesting is that there has not been a denial of this situation. And now that they have accepted this 3-game suspension, is this an admission of guilt from the University of Michigan about sign stealing? I don't know how you can look at it as anything but that. I do think that obviously there was some trade going on here. The Big Ten agreed to close its sign stealing investigation because the Big Ten had left that open, which obviously exposes Michigan to further penalties, depending on what the Big Ten had unearthed. But I think it's really interesting, this idea that Michigan didn't admit any guilt. Michigan fan today is saying that they just wanted to put this behind them. Well, the funny part about that is the judge that was going to hear this appeal tomorrow in a courtroom in Michigan is not only a Michigan University alum, not only a Michigan University Law School alum, he's also a Michigan football alum, a former Michigan football player, and somebody who currently is a lecturer in addition to being a judge at Michigan. That's who is going to hear this case of Jim Harbaugh and Michigan versus the Big Ten on this temporary restraining order. Did you have so little confidence that an alum was going to back you? A former football player on the bench was going to back you? Did you have so little faith in your argument that you folded, you collapsed on this? It is, frankly, I'm shocked that Michigan folded here. I am really surprised that Michigan did not take this as far as it could go into a Michigan courtroom tomorrow and try to get this overturned, because I have to think that a temporary restraining order with a Michigan football alum, a Michigan law alum, and a current lecturer at Michigan law, I have a hard time believing that person could be objective in this case. I truly do. And it's why I'm so surprised that Michigan at least did not go to court and lose on this.
Yeah, I think that Michigan is again, employing the strategy of we're just going to make as much noise as possible until we actually have to start backing up our claims. That's what the strategy is. Whether, it was in the response to the initial, statement that was sent from the Big Ten that you were getting suspended, or in any other example you want to look at. Michigan's always had this bullish approach. And ultimately, that only goes so far. I mean, you kind of run out of steam when, a judge is going to ask you in a court of law, hey, like, what evidence do you have to back up that you're being mistreated here? That somehow the Big Ten is, and Tony Petitti is not, actually following this thing to the letter of the law and doing it by the book. And that's why they're not going to court. And I maintain that to me, while yes, it is surprising that you weren't committed to going to court and losing just to prove a point, it also isn't surprising that you bailed out of actually going to court and fulfilling your obligation to Michigan supporter, because I just think at some point the rubber meets the road here, man. If you're going to keep saying these things, eventually you have to back them up.
The only thing that makes sense is they did not want to talk openly in court. That's the only thing that makes sense. I'm 100% in agreement with you. I think it would have been a very difficult argument for Michigan to win if they were going to go to court and argue that, hey, it's, I know we've not denied it, but and I would have said again, my argument in this case, if I were Jim Harbaugh's lawyer, would have been in the notice of penalty from the Big Ten to Michigan, they said that they were punishing Michigan by suspending its football coach. And if I were Jim Harbaugh's lawyer, my argument would have been, don't punish my football coach or don't punish my client because your university did something or is accused of doing something. I think that's the only logical argument you could have made there, because there really is no evidence that we've seen or heard publicly that ties Jim Harbaugh directly to Connor Stalions' scheme. Now, as those of us living in, actual reality know, you don't have to know if you're the head coach. It's your responsibility to know. It is your responsibility to make sure that your staff is operating ethically and within the NCAA guidelines. And clearly, as Michigan has not denied it, I am of the opinion that their staff was not acting ethically. I am of the opinion Jim Harbaugh knew. I am of the opinion both his coordinators knew. I think his players knew. I don't know how you wouldn't know. And I think that the Big Ten acted very responsibly here. I think they did not go far enough in their suspension. It's a 3-day suspension. That's it. That's all. That's all Jim Harbaugh got here was a 3-game suspension. 3 Saturdays in the month of November. I'm all in on that. I was a little surprised they fought it in the first place.
I mean,
frankly.
isn't that the price of doing business in some respects? Like, hey, we're gonna go out and we're gonna execute one of the largest sign stealing operations ever seen in college athletics.
Bro, if I said to Jim Harbaugh, hey, Jimmy, here's the thing. You can go to the college football playoff multiple times. You'll actually win a big game because I'm going to show you how to beat Ohio State twice in a row. And yeah, but as a consequence, at the end of this thing, you're going to have to miss 3 game days. 3 Saturdays.
But you can still coach during the week. You can still prepare your team.
You're going to miss those 3 Saturdays. He'd have said yes every time. He'd have said yes every time. And who wouldn't?
That's why I don't understand why Michigan and company went with the strategy of let's try to play hard ass, hardball.
Yes.
Insult Tony Petitti, like just go way over the top with it when the punishment we're discussing is nothing. I mean, honestly, like, I agree with the one thing I agree with Michigan supporter on is, oh yeah, like Jim doesn't actually do a ton of coaching on game day. Is he the one that decides if you go for it on 4th and 1? Yeah, but it's not like he's the offensive and defensive coordinator.
Not a play caller.
Yeah, Jim's primary function is to get these game plans together, make sure the team is tuned up and dialed in and prepared to play their next opponent. And so to me, if I'm Jim, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. If you're going to give me a 3-day suspension, dude,
Let's
I'm
do it.
taking that all day.
Let's do it.
I'm taking it all day long.
Wait, so I can finally beat Ohio State, and it'll be 2 years in a row. And I can go to the college football playoff multiple years, and
potentially I can still get extended to one of the richest deals a college football coach has ever had.
And that's only going to cost me 3 Saturdays? All right, I'm in.
Doesn't get any more red, white, and blue than that.
Come on in, Satan. Let's do a deal.
Let's do it.
Right?
Like,
I mean,
what are we talking about, man?
He would absolutely say yes to that. And I have a hard time arguing with him, frankly.
Now,
right?
As far as the NCAA is concerned, that's a whole different conversation.
Oh, that's just getting started. And I think a lot of Michigan fans today on Twitter, there was quite the extravaganza on Twitter today of Michigan fans who are like, oh, we did nothing wrong. We are innocent. We're martyrs. We're being victimized. Hey, they took that 3-game suspension and agreed not to argue anymore. All of a sudden, Michigan fan on Twitter got very quiet. I think they probably lost their internet access. They had no idea that this happened, right? Because they're victims. And it's amazing to me. And so I just ask you, knowing that Jim Harbaugh is missing half your games and you're undefeated at 10-0, and he's missed half of those games, right? I'm just asking, is Jim Harbaugh worth all this? The same question I asked you 3 weeks ago when this broke. Is Jim Harbaugh worth all this?
No.
He's not. He's not worth this. And if you give, the dad bod God khaki wearing MFer this contract extension, I think you're foolish.
The khaki king, dude.
I think you are giving Jim Harbaugh a license to continue and humiliate the University of Michigan, who deserves far better.
That's the one thing that I don't think anybody can get away from, no matter which side of the fence you're on. The public humiliation that the institution goes through to support this football program is incredible. If this had happened in like the knitting program, the whole program would have been shut down.
Can you imagine if a test stealing operation had happened in the law school?
Imagine if Michigan discovered a full-on Mike Ross from Suits taking tests for people and raking in thousands of dollars a day doing it. What then would we be saying?
Can you imagine if your university, I don't know, had lost $240 million? Then what? Oh, wait, that happened in Arizona. Bad example. My point is...
But they weren't suspended.
No.
Why should we be suspended?
I just think it's really convenient now that you're like, oh, yeah, we just took the suspension to put this to bed. No, you didn't. Because this is far from over.
If you had anything to stand on, you'd have gone into that courtroom wearing your Captain America suit with your shield, and you would have fought this thing to the death.
Because remember, it's a shame that, the khaki king is not going to be on the sidelines for the 1,000th win in Michigan football history.
Shame.
Right? Like it's an injustice. It's a real shame to take this away from Jim.
Perpetrated against our program.
Yeah, you took it away from yourself. And that's the point that I can't get away from. This is all self-inflicted. It is. I don't know how else you would spin it.
I'm curious if Michigan fan, like what's the next positioning statement for when the NCAA stuff comes down? Because the positioning statement was, oh, everyone's doing it, right? Everybody and their mom who supports Michigan was like, everyone's stealing signs. We're being victimized. So then when we get clarity on the FBI's investigation and when we get clarity on what exactly the specifics are of the U.S. integrity portion of the investigation, when we get clarity on what exactly, the punishment being considered by the NCAA is, what then will be the positioning statement? Because that time is coming and we're already getting tweets from, the low-level reporting accounts saying, Jim Harbaugh is expected, quote unquote, to draw interest from the NFL. So you can see where the yellow brick road leads here.
No, the yellow brick road leads to Michigan going to the SEC, right? because they're bailing on
another
the
good
Big
question.
Ten now.
Another good question, dude.
What happened to all that, tough guy?
Where's the U-Haul at, man?
Right? Like where is the Michigan leaving the Big Ten talk? Oh, that's right. You lost.
Yeah,
So
I'm
there's
not talking
like,
about that.
and that's the biggest issue here. I don't think anybody, historically anyways, doesn't respect Michigan football until right now. Before this cheating scandal, even with the level 1 violation that Michigan fan says never happened, and even with the COVID dark period, all of that stuff, even with this FBI investigation, it's Michigan football. You know what? They'll get past it. This cheating thing, I think, has completely flipped that script. I think this has been so incredibly damaging to the integrity and the reputation of Michigan University. It's that you as a leading institution in the legal community are defending somebody who is a 3-time cheat is remarkable to me.
I don't break
Because
rules.
not only is this sign stealing thing a big deal, not only are the level 1 violations and the recruiting scandal back in the COVID period a big deal, your offensive coordinator and your football program are under FBI investigation. This guy's a 3-time cheat. In my opinion, this is an absolute blight on the face of Michigan. And I think Michigan's one of the finest law schools in the country.
Absolutely.
I don't think anybody even questions that one of the finest law schools in the country is endorsing unethical and illegal behavior is amazing to me.
Yeah, I also think the Big Ten and the big picture's got to consider some of that too, because again, if you look at this thing from the Big Ten's perspective, you've got the Northwestern stuff, the Michigan State stuff, the Michigan stuff. Like, how many more things are we going to add to the Big Ten ledger here? The Big Ten is dealing with storm after storm right now, and Tony Petitti's only been here for less than half his cup of coffee at this point. I mean, the guy's not even been on the job for even a year yet? Has it been more than a year that he's had the commissioner's seat?
No.
Like this guy has had to come in here with his fire hose and having to, put all this stuff out. And so that's why I say, just keep in mind, the Mel Tucker stuff has been absolutely positively muted by this Michigan sign stealing, thing. And that to me is the biggest indictment of it all, because we've graduated from Fitzgerald at Northwestern.
Yeah.
We graduated from Mel Tucker. We're on to Jim Harbaugh, America's team, Michigan. Like, that's what stands out to me, is that it just keeps going in the Big Ten. The conference that's raking in $100 million, right? A school. Like, dude, this is the conference that's making bread hand over fist and has all the problems in college football. The SEC doesn't have these problems. The ACC's problems in terms of expansion were put to bed. We're going to get to this Pac-2 stuff here in a minute, but that's kind of running its course now. Like, the Big Ten is in the spotlight. And I don't know when you fix that or how you fix that. That's what's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know how I don't know where Michigan goes from here. I think it's a blight. I would love to get your comments on it. I am curious, like, how much damage do you think this does to Michigan? I think in the short term, it's no damage at all. I think they're going to beat Maryland. I think they're going to beat Ohio State. I think they're going to probably lose in the Big Ten championship game, and I think they're going to go on to the college football playoff. That'd be my guess. I don't think they're national championship good. I don't think they're Bama or Georgia good. But I think when you look at, are they Florida State good? They certainly are. Are they Washington good? Yeah, I think they probably are. But I think you run into the Oregons, the Georgias, the Bamas. I don't think they're that good. But I think Michigan has a chance to go to the college football playoff here when Jim Harbaugh will be back in khakis on the sideline for the University of Michigan. And I think it is incredibly, incredibly damaging to the University of Michigan that this clown is going to remain as their head coach after what is one of the largest cheating scandals in the history of the NCAA. And I see everybody. There's 5-6 people I saw mentioning Bobby Bowden. Because of, like Bobby Bowden, who should be the all-time winningest coach at this point, lost what was it, 12 wins over an academic scandal. The late Bobby Bowden, don't forget, he died during COVID, and I don't think this even touches it. I don't think it's close to that. I think this is far beyond anything that happened at Florida State with Bobby Bowden. I think this Penn State. No, that's the worst scandal I've ever seen. But Jim Harbaugh should not be the head coach at a prestigious university like Michigan. I just don't think he should. His coordinators, one of them works for his brother in Baltimore, now has a 1-year show cause notice. What does Jim Harbaugh get after this is over? And again, I'm just sitting there asking, where's the contract extension? Where's this? Hey, we're going to make Jim Harbaugh one of the highest paid coaches in the history of college football. Where's the contract extension?
Is there clarity from Jim to the school about what he intends to do after the season's over? Because I think that conversation, while obviously extremely private in nature, is one that a lot of people wonder about. Because if Jim is saying things like, yeah, I think it'd be best for me to leave the program after the season, or, he just fully intends to move on, then yeah, you're obviously not even going to offer that contract. But if Jim is still in the stance, and I can't really tell, I'll be honest with you guys, I can't really tell where Jim himself is on all of this, because I as I've rewatched all the media bits and all the comments and all that, like to me, part of it is him joking with the media and just trolling because he's an asshole about it. And part of it is he's not good at talking to the media. He's
not at all.
He's not some savant at wordplay. He doesn't know. He's not efficient at
and he's always been awkward.
Yeah, he's
honestly.
always had that awkward sort of energy, the weird pauses. So is Jim in a place where he's like, yeah, I'm kind of done with this. Let's just go back to the league. And even if I can just get 5 years out of the NFL, okay, cool. And then I'll ride off into the sunset, let's say. Or is the play to stay firm on this and get your contract extension from Michigan that's loaded with out clauses for the school?
What's going to happen here is I think they have a really good chance to beat Ohio State because it's at Michigan. Although I think Ohio State's phenomenal. We've talked about this. I think they're going to win the Big Ten championship, and I think they're going to go to the college football playoff. I mean, I don't even, at this point, wouldn't it be, I want to say Iowa, right? Out of the West. I mean, Michigan's going to boat race whoever they play in the championship game.
Absolutely.
Come on. You're going to the college football playoff. And then what? You're just going to ride off into the sunset? I think he will. And I think he is going to get a massive show cause notice. And I think he's going to wind up taking a year off from coaching, and then he'll end up probably back in the NFL because time heals all wounds. And I think we've seen this with a number of basketball coaches. And I just don't think the fact that Bobby Petrino has a job should not surprise anybody. The fact that Rick Pitino has a job should not surprise anybody. It just is what it is, man. And I think Jim Harbaugh will collect all of his spoils from winning what he's like. And I would think that he is likely he's not even a stretch. Jim Harbaugh is likely to win the Big Ten championship.
Absolutely.
He is likely to go to the college football playoff. He is likely to be paid an exorbitant amount of money to do that.
Well, at this point, if you're Michigan and you're, looking at your path here, obviously you still expect to go to the college football playoff. But I think we're getting to a point where now, if you're ESPN, you're almost encouraged to want them in the college football playoff. The college football playoff committee has made it very clear that they don't give a damn about disciplining Michigan.
Nah.
It's not their responsibility. So I've always maintained the playoff committee's, job is to produce the best matchups and appease the TV partners. Is putting Michigan in the college football playoff not the exact thing that every college football fan wants to see? Even win or lose at this point. Because if you lose, it's like, yeah, here's the bird. You guys can't cheat anymore.
I think college football fans want Ohio State to go to the big house and win. That's what I think.
Well, that would be justice.
It would be an incredible irony. I don't even know what you would say. If Jim Harbaugh's got to wind up coaching in the Joe Blow Dick Me Beef Jerky Bowl, it would be amazing. And if they lose to Ohio State, my question would be, is Jim Harbaugh coach his last game at Michigan? Because, again, I would remind you, we're far from over with this. The NCAA, it has yards to go on this. I look at the Blake Corum, Connor Stallions, oh my God, he defrauded me and my lawyer's on it thing. I think we're far from done with that. Like, I think there's the damage that Michigan continues to allow Jim Harbaugh to do to this program is remarkable. It's remarkable. It is. And the damage that you do to your performance on a day in, day out basis by not getting to BuckedUp.com, the official energy drink of the Monty Show, and not getting yourself some Buckshot, it is still 50% off. They did restock, so all their flavors might still be available. Do you know what Buckshot is? Buckshot is an energy shot. And you might say, well, I already take energy drinks. Bro, it's different. This is 200 milligrams of naturally sourced caffeine with a bunch of brain food in a bottle. You drink it and you get a natural lift. And the best part about it is there's no crash. There's no spike. You just feel more clear. You have more energy so you can get that workout done. So you can get through that pivot table and Excel spreadsheet, the conference call, the drive home. You got to do homework with the kids. You're just struggling. You don't feel great. You have a headache. Totally get it. Pop a Buckshot and have a better day. In fact, the best part about Buckshot, when you integrate it into your daily routine, every day is your best day. Thanks to our friends at BuckedUp. Cheers to you. Every day on the show. I love it at this time. You guys, in the description below, there's a link to get 6 free Buckshots. And right now, they're $15 for a box at BuckedUp.com. When you get there and you shop their early Black Friday sale, Sports50 is your promo code, Sports50. Hook it up, BuckedUp.com. Let's get all of your comments in. Coming up in 15 minutes. Let's switch gears and talk about the Pac-12. Boy, devastating day for Oregon State and Washington State. That's coming up in 15 minutes. Ryan Willie for $5. Harbaugh and Michigan were scared that they were going to lose. They didn't want all the evidence to get out, which could be. But, I mean, your guy is on the bench. Like the judge, and if you're just tuning in, the judge in the Michigan case, the temporary restraining order hearing tomorrow, the judge is a Michigan grad, a Michigan law grad, a football player at Michigan. He was a football player, and he currently is a lecturer at Michigan Law. That guy was going to hear the temporary restraining order case for Michigan football. And Ryan, you might be damn right. How on earth did you think you were going to lose that case? Oh, that's right. The evidence is not in your favor.
You have to at least have something to argue with for your boy to grant it.
Yeah, I don't even know what.
Nothing.
I truly don't. I told you I would make an argument, and I don't know that it would win. I don't. Ryan Willie also gives us $20. I'm curious how the Michigan talking heads will respond on College Game Day and Big Noon Kickoff. NCAA will bring the hammer down. Sorry, Pat. On Michigan, Harbaugh is too exotic to be hired anywhere, or too toxic. I said exotic. Harbaugh is too toxic to be hired anywhere in college football. And he basically is going to have what's called a show cause order, which means, hey, Texas A&M, you want to hire Jim Harbaugh? You're going to have to show us how he's the best alternative for you. And if you hire him, you're going to take a 10 scholarship reduction. That's what a show cause order is.
In other words, nobody's hiring Jim Harbaugh.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. Shout out to Aaron Wilson. He gifted a Monty Show membership. Then there's Joseph Harper, a new member on the show.
Let's go, baby.
Let's see. Joseph Harper, he upgraded to members-only content.
Let's go.
Make sure, Joseph Harper, make sure that you DM Jake, SLC Jake on Instagram or Twitter. Do it on Instagram because he'll enter you into our members-only Instagram chat. Oh, by the way, I think we all know what we're talking about. right? Yeah, we're talking about this situation, right? In that group today, there's no doubt about that. We talked about the Pac-10 in there, like all this stuff.
We talked about Draymond Green's rear naked choke technique.
Yeah, seriously. Absolutely. We talked about that. Let's see. Man, we have just got 1,000,001 comments today. Mike Smith says, break out the buck shots. Exactly right.
Hey, Mike.
Exactly right, Mike Smith. Appreciate you. Mike Smith, who is a West Virginia guy, I affectionately refer to Mike Smith as Mountain Mama, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Mountain Mama, take me home. Tanner Plummer, when they play Ohio State, 99% of college football fans will be Buckeye fans that day.
Absolutely.
No doubt about it. Brad Smith, how are you? Minter and Moore will probably get a show cause as well. They will, the coordinators. I think there is no doubt about that.
How do you not?
You have to. Axe Kaz says, Pac-2 News, Washington Supreme Court. Wow, really? Are you sure? Are you sure that really happened today? Who knew? Who knew? Tanner Plummer, Connor Stallions, vacuum fixer, attorney at law, apparently.
Sign stealer guy.
Right? Jack Harrington, I don't see them beating Ohio State, Monty. Well, I think the way that offense is different at Michigan Stadium. That the Michigan offense is different at home. I think J.J. McCarthy's a better quarterback at home. You're not going to be able to let Blake Corum run the football to victory against Ohio State. You're not. They're going to have to throw the ball. And I would not sleep on Maryland because Maryland's just good enough to be a pain in your ass. So I would not sleep on Maryland. Absolutely not. Conundrum, Jim just nods and deposits checks. Yeah, because he's, by all accounts, not losing any pay over the suspension. So,
which again, I say, why are you causing issues with this suspension? Take your medicine.
Yeah. What are you complaining about? MBM says Michigan literally went from mediocre to top 4 overnight. Harbaugh sucked his first 5-6 years. Yeah. We've talked at length about it on the show. Absolutely. I mean, the guy just did not win big games.
And this is the questions being asked, or the angle being asked about what U.S. integrity, what triggered U.S. integrity to get involved.
Right.
A lot of people said, hey, Jim has been, as a commenter said, mediocre. He hasn't been elite. He's not been, regarded as a head coach leading a program that could beat the best of the best.
A big game coach.
Yeah.
He's not a big game coach.
And now all of a sudden this is happening. And so a lot of people think that's what initially got U.S. integrity involved. Hey, how is this going on? How is Michigan going to the shoe and just dominating Ohio State? That doesn't happen. And
you don't just start winning big games. Like you don't. D Foracker.
Yeah, your name is D. How about that?
Oh,
Macaque.
All credibility lost when you said they would beat Ohio State but lose to a crappy. I didn't say they would lose to Iowa. I said they would. What is Iowa? 5-2, or in conference?
We didn't say that. We didn't even say that today.
No,
what do you
Iowa's 5-2 in conference, and I would remind people that Michigan has still not given up 60 points on the season.
He said that they would boat race Iowa in the Big Ten championship game. What are you talking about?
OG Gary, Jim wants Utah job after Witt leaves. Oof. Can you imagine?
Nah.
Let's see. Christopher Shannon, have to eliminate divisions in AAA conference. Maybe. Okay. Jeff Woodworth, flips cups, boat races. Okay. I read that one already. Mike Hawk, but he did nothing wrong. Okay. Who said he did nothing wrong? Oh, Michigan fans said he.
Ain't no reset.
Wrong. Lacey 777. I think Ohio State's going to beat them. I hope you're right. And the worst, but don't forget, next week we're off. We'll be in Hawaii next week.
Yeah, we'll be golfing.
So our first show will be the Monday after the Michigan-Ohio State game. Will we be reacting to the end of Michigan's season? Or will we be reacting to Michigan moving on?
Oh, you want to interact with us while we're in Hawaii? Members only content. $9.99 a month. Be in the group. Let's go.
Yep. And there will be all kinds of golfing, food, beaches, snorkeling boats. It's going to be an amazing trip. Absolutely, it's going to be an amazing trip. Johnny Gonzalez, after seeing A&M, Harbaugh's next contract buyout would be no less than $100 million. Seriously. Can you believe that? Like, what were you thinking? And now, you guys heard, I'm sure, but Texas A&M is trying to hire coaches on incentive-laden contract offers.
Who are you, corporate America?
Low base salary, lots of incentives. Lots of incentives. Gary Wolf, how are you? Jim climbs up on his stallion. Get
See what he did there? It's like Connor Stallions and Stallion.
And rides off into the sunset to Khaki Land.
Khaki Land.
Khaki Land. Khaki Land. Okay. Dakota Tubbs, my guy, what's up? I can't believe that I'll actually be rooting for the Buckeyes for the first time in my life. How many people are in that boat? There's a lot of people in that boat. There's no doubt. Ohio State will win against the team up north. We'll find out. We will find out.
North.
I think it's going to be a great game. Jeff Woodworth, roll that beautiful buckshot footage, Jakey. What do you mean buckshot footage?
Buckshot footage?
I don't know what you mean. Brad Smith, what's up, Brad? For sure, Ohio State beats UM. I think Day knows he has to win and will. Is Ryan Day's job on the line against Michigan?
I think this, at a minimum, the seat gets a lot hotter if you lose this game.
That'd be interesting. Christopher Shannon, nope. Give me the Wolverines versus Florida State. Who wins that game?
Michigan.
Come
on.
Michigan wins that game.
Come on.
CJ Howell, writing off Ohio State like they don't have a very good chance of beating Michigan is who wrote them off? Who wrote off Michigan? Who wrote off Ohio State versus Michigan? Did somebody in the comments? We would never do that. Lacey says, LOL beef jerky bowl. I mean, does a bowl game matter if you lose to Ohio State?
No.
Blake Corum's like, dude, I'd rather go fix vacuums. I've got a back order. Okay.
Vacuums are my thing.
Jeff Woodworth, Dakota, now you know how I felt when you played Georgia. Exactly. Jack Harrington, if they lose to Ohio State, Michigan's resume is garbage. They would be out of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's the game.
I mean, you're still a top 10 team, but you're probably 6th or 7th in the nation at that point.
It is the game. Brad Smith also has to be a revenge factor. No way Stroud, who is torching the NFL and UGA, but couldn't beat Michigan. They cheated. Only thing that makes sense.
Man, he has looked good.
CJ Stroud's an MVP candidate. Absolutely is. Mike Smith, beef jerky time. Who wants beef jerky? Trading places. Okay. I mean, that's fine. Thanks, RX. Okay. Get it right, Holly. Okay.
Thanks for the comment.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Big Daddy Magic. Monty, do you love Andrew Dawson? I have no idea who Andrew Dawson is.
Victor's the way.
I have no idea who that is. Tanner says whoever beats Michigan will be America's team for that day. They will.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Johnny Gonzalez, Bucked Up doesn't need to steal signs or advanced scouts to get you wins. No, they don't. Even though Jake cheated again at virtual golf this morning.
I didn't cheat at anything, dude.
What? Okay.
It's total slander.
Let's see. Jeff Weber, Jack Dakota is a Missouri fan, not a Michigan fan. Correct. That's exactly right. Kenneth says, of course they accepted the suspension. What the Big Ten lawyers had would force the NCAA to declare them ineligible for the postseason. Yeah, that's not how the NCAA works. The NCAA has a process, and they stick to it to the letter. So, and I would also remind everybody that everything that the NCAA has, the Big Ten has, and vice versa. They worked back and forth together.
Michigan's well aware of the pile of evidence.
Yeah, well aware. There's just no question about it. Gary Wolf, Jim takes his squad to the Holden Hiscock Jagoff Bowl. Well, I mean, that does
Hiscock.
I miss the days of naming a daily Jagoff on this
Holden Middick.
We need that back.
Yeah, where has Casey Anthony been?
I don't know. I have no idea where he's been. Mark Hales, exotic. That is on your mind. Yeah, I would love a Maserati or a Rari.
Yeah,
or,
Roddy.
just just give me an M5. That's all I'm asking. Am I asking for too much? Come on. Christopher Murphy, quit implying the judge was dirty. Who's implying the judge is dirty? So let me get this right. He's dirty because he went to Michigan, then went to Michigan Law, played football at Michigan, and now is a lecturer at Michigan. So we would think that he's totally objective.
Totally unbiased. Totally
Why would we-
unbiased. Yeah.
Why would we think he would be
Yeah.
anything but?
You fucking donkey.
Who said the judge was dirty, dude? Like, Michigan fan is so sensitive to anything that's said about this case. Nobody said the judge was dirty. He's a human being whose whole entire life and career is tied to Michigan. You don't think he would have some bias there? Of course he would. Of course he would. What are you talking about? Boss Frog, how did the judge not recuse himself from the hearing? You know how he didn't recuse himself? Because all three judges who have been named in this case all went to Michigan, then went on to Michigan Law, and still have ties to the university.
Which is not abnormal.
No, because Michigan's a powerhouse in the state of Michigan, and really they have one of the best law schools in the country.
If you live in the state of Michigan and you want to be a lawyer, you're going to try and go to Michigan.
Yes, exactly.
So
right.
it's not abnormal that most judges in that state would have gone to Michigan Law. So at some point, you get to a place where it's like, all right, well, hey, it is what it is. You're a judge. You're obligated to be unbiased. But I am with you. There's no way that you're not biased, at least on some level.
Yeah, Mark Hales. All judges are biased. They don't hide it. They're human beings. They're not robots. They're human beings. Did you see the Supreme Court situation? They had to put in a rule of ethics with no teeth or penalties if you violate it. Because they had all taken so many trips in boats and cabins and come on. All judges are biased. It's the nature of the beast. And that there's a difference between dirty and bias. And nobody accused this judge on this show of being dirty.
Nobody said he's getting payments or
Come on. Free tickets.
Yeah, come on, dude.
He gets free tickets for lecturing. Anyway, all right. Jeff Woodworth, if the judge is dirty, it's not his fault. His vacuum hasn't been repaired yet. Yeah, Connor's running on a backlog. There's a waiting list for those Eureka vacuums. So let me get this right. There's a scandal about vacuums. And this is what your front porch looks like, sir.
No, I don't know anything about a vacuum repair business.
Selling or repairing vacuums? What makes you think that?
Well, sir, you have all these vacuums on your porch. Yeah, it turns out that my property was really dirty, and so I just needed some extra ones.
Yeah, a lot of crumbs in the carpet.
Right.
Lot of crumbs in the car. Okay. Cleveland Rocks, enter your well-deserved vacation and enjoy your well-deserved vacation and stay safe. Thank you.
I appreciate that, man.
We have got 3 rounds of golf at 3 of the best courses in Hawaii. I am so looked at the two that I'm jacked about Turtle Bay, and I'm really excited about the Clipper. Really excited about playing there. Stephen Smith for $20. Don't forget the Ohio State wrestling scandal, Michigan State sexual assault, and Penn State issues. Michigan State has more issues than most Big Ten teams. Baylor is another issue too.
All right.
Okay. Well, thanks for listing off all the NCAA scandals.